Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's severe weather update. So unfortunately, a derecho is likely across Kansas today, as the Storm Prediction Center has now issued a level 4 out of 5 moderate risk of severe weather across south central and central Kansas in the red shaded region today. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather across northwest Oklahoma through northeast Kansas and southwestern Kansas in the orange, a slight risk from northwest Oklahoma, the far northeast Texas panhandle, most of the rest of Kansas, northwest Missouri, southwestern Iowa, southern and western Nebraska, and west central South Dakota and far southern North Dakota in the yellow shaded region for today. And we have a marginal risk of severe weather covering most of the plains into the western Midwest and far eastern Rockies in the dark green shaded region as well today. We also have a slight risk of severe weather across southeastern areas of Florida in the yellow, with a marginal risk covering the Florida Peninsula through southeast Georgia and far southern South Carolina as well in the dark green shaded region for today. And taking a look at our probabilities of a tornado touching down within 25 miles of a location today, we do have a 5% chance of a tornado touching down within 25 miles of a location across northwestern Oklahoma through central Kansas, southern through northern Kansas as well. So make sure you're on guard for a few scattered tornadoes in areas like Woodward, Enid, Oklahoma, Dodge City, Great Bend, Hays, Salina, Hutchinson, Wichita, Manhattan, and Emporia, Kansas. We also have a 2% tornado risk in the green across north central Oklahoma, the eastern Oklahoma Panhandle, northeast Kansas, southeastern Nebraska, far southern Iowa, and northwestern Missouri in the green shaded region. Make sure you're on guard for an isolated spin up tornado today in areas like Liberal, Kansas, Beatrice, Nebraska, Kirksville, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, and Missouri. Looking down at Florida, we also have a 2% tornado risk along the southeastern coast of Florida. Make sure you're on guard for an isolated spin-up tornado from Miami through West Palm Beach, Port St. Lucie, Palm Bay, and just east of Orlando today. But the primary concern today, as I mentioned earlier, is going to be the damaging wind threat, as we unfortunately have a derecho likely today. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a 45% chance of damaging straight line winds of 58 miles per hour stronger within 25 miles of a location across central Kansas in the pink shaded region. This includes Dodge City, Great Bend, Hutchinson, Wichita, and Salina, Kansas. And we could be seeing wind gusts of 80 to 100 miles per hour this afternoon and evening across this pink shaded region. So make sure you're preparing for this derecho if you live across central Kansas. 30% damaging wind risk from northern Oklahoma through southwest and northeast Kansas in the red. 15% damaging wind risk from Oklahoma through South Dakota in the yellow. 5% chance in the brown. Also a 5% damaging wind risk across Florida, Georgia, and southern South Carolina. But focusing in on this damaging wind threat across Kansas and Oklahoma, 80 to 100 mile an hour winds are going to be possible in this hatched area. And taking a look at the wording from the forecast discussion, there's a moderate risk of severe thunderstorms in portions of Kansas, a slight risk of severe thunderstorms over parts of east central and southeastern Florida, a organized swath of severe thunderstorm wind potential derecho is expected mainly across parts of Kansas this afternoon and evening, possibly extending into northern Oklahoma. Gusts of 75 to 100 miles per hour are possible, along with large hail and a few tornadoes. So strong wording from the Storm Prediction Center. Make sure you're taking this derecho threat very seriously across Kansas and Oklahoma this evening. And unfortunately, we could be seeing large destructive hail with the damaging winds, as the Storm Prediction Center has issued a 30% chance of quarter-size hail or larger within 25 miles of a location from northwest Oklahoma through central Kansas from north to south in the red shaded region. If you live in areas like Woodward, Dodge City, Great Bend, Hays, Salina, Hutchinson, Liberal, and Enid, Make sure you're parking your cars in the garage today, as golf ball to tennis ball to baseball, softball size hail are all going to be possible with the damaging winds. This could lead to a very destructive situation across portions of Oklahoma and Kansas this evening with wind-driven hail. 15% damaging wind risk from Oklahoma through southern North Dakota in the yellow, 5% chance in the brown. Also a 15% damaging wind risk in southeast Florida, 5% chance in the brown, up through Georgia and South Carolina. Make sure you're on guard for scattered damaging wind gusts in the yellow shaded regions, isolated damaging wind, scattered large hail in the yellow shaded regions, isolated large hail in the brown shaded regions, and numerous large destructive hail across the red shaded region in parts of Kansas and Oklahoma this evening. So timing out this potential derecho across the Central Plains, as we go into about 3 to 4 o'clock this afternoon, storms are going to develop east of the Rockies in eastern Colorado and southwestern Kansas. And then as we go into 5 and 6 o'clock, this is when our potential derecho is going to materialize across southwestern Kansas. Already seeing a Boeing segment evident in the 12Z run of the HRRR model, indicating that strong destructive winds are already going to be possible as early as 6 o'clock this evening. Going into 7 o'clock, a very intense looking derecho moving across central Kansas with several Boeing segments evident across south central Kansas and northeastern Kansas. Any supercells ahead of the derecho could produce tornadoes and large destructive hail. Also watch out northern Oklahoma for a isolated discrete supercell. And then going to 8 o'clock, much of Kansas from north to south could be experiencing wind gusts between 75 and 100 miles per hour, pushing towards areas like Wichita. And then through Wichita around 9 o'clock this evening, and then going to 10 and 11 o'clock, a derecho could potentially reach as far east as Topeka and Kansas City. So make sure you're on guard across Topeka and Kansas City as well before we see the derecho kind of fall apart into the overnight hours due to the loss of daytime heating across western Missouri. So thanks for watching today's severe weather update. Make sure you're preparing for a potential derecho this afternoon and evening across the state of Kansas and potentially northwestern Oklahoma as well. Please stay safe and have a wonderful day, my friends.